Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Camp Nightmare Fuel. Produced and created by LordeStarfox.
Hello campers. Could everyone please report to the campfire area? This is where your camp counselors will begin tonight's fireside tales. Please give your attention to the illustrious LordeStarfox and the members of the Midnight Society. Counselors, take it away.
My creatures of the night, yes, it is officially Camp Nightmare Fuel time here on Midnight Lycanthropy and LordeStarfox Radio. My two sidekicks for the evening, of course, Susie and Mr. Barber, are already sitting around the late night fire as we again burn the midnight timber into the early hours of the morning. Susie and Mr. Barber, are you both ready to dive into another Nightmare Fuel episode?
Ready.
I am so ready. Let's do this.
Love it. To the audience tonight, we are going to be talking about the good old Paris Catacombs. Yes, it is a place that has so much interesting history, strange paranormal activity, cult activity, you name it. It's got it rocking down there, and that's what we are going to be diving into tonight. The Paris Catacombs is a very interesting area. To sum it up, unfortunately, during the late 1700s, the graveyards began to become extremely overflowing, literally, with remnants of people. Yes, it was straight up like a sludge that was on the ground of the graveyard because of how many caskets had been piled on top of each other, or not even caskets in general. It was so putrid that people in this village at the time, most likely is pretty much what we can call it, it was rotting the meat. It was spoiling all the food. So they came up with three, well, in their eyes, genius solutions. Number one, they began making soap from the sludge that was in the good old graveyards. Yikes. Number two, they decided to make candles from this sludge. And number three, they then decided to just move all these caskets and remnants of people down below the city and just stack it up like something out of a Diablo video game where it's straight up nightmare fuel. When people go down there today, you are only legally allowed to see certain and very minuscule parts of the catacombs, and you need to be with a group / guide of people where this has been okayed by local officials. Well, then you have other people that are urban explorers that have found basically secret little ways to get in underneath the catacombs and roam around. Once the local officials find out about these secret openings, they will destroy them and cover them up. Yet amongst the urban X squads, these are basically like sacred and only get passed around once you are worthy of figuring out these locations. Some of the strange things as if this isn't strange enough, right? That occur down there is there were parts of the upper streets at point in time that had basically disintegrated and fallen down into the catacombs, where unfortunately people had catastrophic injuries, and even worse that occurred with that, on top of the already bones that had been moved everywhere. Weird sort of vibe, definitely, that would be occurring down there. A lot of people don't realize Paris, it's almost impossible to get house insurance over there because you legit are on top of the catacombs. There is no structure underneath you. And at any point in time, which has happened before, people's wall will crash in or a portion of their floor leads right into the catacombs. Oh, that's real reassuring, right? Okay. Also, you have people that have nefarious things in mind that go down there. There are reports of secret cults that go down, do some things that might be considered to others very taboo. You have even had a group of people that were anti local officials. They were basically a bunch of hackers that were a younger generation, and down in the catacombs they had figured out how to rewire the power sources from the main streets down into the catacombs. They had carved out a movie theater, there was a kitchen in there, and all kinds of necessities where people were just chilling in the midst of the catacombs partying it up. Well, one day, obviously, the local officials got a tip off. They did find this place. As they left to come back and then clear everything out, well, it was already all gone. And all that was left was a hanging note saying, "We're already 3 steps ahead of you. Good luck." And it had the slogan on it from basically these group of hackers. What the heck? I would say the most terrifying aspects of this are apparently in some circles, this is the pit to hell down there. And if you get down to the lowest levels, well, you find your way into hell. I can't verify any of that. I can verify everything else previous to that. That's just some pretty creepy things. Yet the last thing I'm going to say before we toss it over to my good old sidekicks is about 20 years ago, there was a video of an urban explorer that was definitely pretty deep in the catacombs. The reason he was pretty deep, or whoever it was, it sounded like a male from the breathing, is when the people that were professionals actually understood the levels set up and the maps of the catacombs, said that the way these bones were set up in certain spots and some of the markings on the wall, this individual had to be pretty deep down into the catacombs. Could this all have been a hoax? Sure. Yet you would have to be very in tuned with your location in the catacombs to go that far down and be able to find your way out, more or less, is what these experts were saying. Plausible, yes, sure. Somebody could have been very in tune to that, made a huge hoax. Either way, though, this person is carrying their camera. They start breathing heavier and heavier, and they're looking around, which doesn't really give me the inclination that they understand their location. Again, could be hoaxing, but it seems as if they are nervous and they are now frantic. Yet, this would be the most bizarre thing to do for, I guess, a hoax, is as they're running through some sort of liquid on the ground, which probably is water, they then throw down this camera and run off into the complete darkness. Never come back for their camera, correct? All right. Later on, it was found by actual people that knew exactly where they were heading. Why, if you were just hoaxing, would you risk running off into the darkness and you never see a light come on in the distance? When the camera is down in the water, you just see blackness until the camera no longer has battery. I guess you could have gotten around the corner, but you would have needed like some infrared goggles. And this was at least 20 plus years ago. Probably not the easiest to get your hands on. That is pretty much all I really have to say about all these things.
Yeah, I actually saw that video, and it was really creepy. And he took off, and he didn't have a flashlight or anything with him, and he was just gone. Upon other further research, there's been other videos I've seen of in there of like what they say might be creatures down there living, or even paranormal entities at this time. So maybe some of those things are what scared him, and helped him lose his way, just really freaked him out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's other cases where a girl disappeared down there in 2005 and they didn't find her until 2007. Fortunately, she kind of fit right in with the local decor by that point. But if you drop your flashlight, and anything down there could be crazy. I mean, there's only 1 mile of those tunnels that are decorated, but the tunnels actually go on for 180 miles. So I don't know how often bones might shift or anything. I mean, I'm sure there's probably not a breeze or anything, but if you did have some kind of entity clank a couple bones together or something when you're expecting nothing but quiet, and you drop your light and it reflects something weird, shadow or something, and you run, you're going to be in trouble. And 180 miles of tunnels is a long way to go without a light. There's food for thought there.
Right. The earliest one that I heard recorded was some gentleman that was sent down basically into the cellar to go get a bottle of wine or something like that. And he got lost down there, and they didn't find him for years and years and years. I think it was like over 11 years later or something like that. But anyway, when they did, they buried him right there on the spot and put a little plaque for him of where his bones were, because he's already in the catacombs, so just leave him there. But from everything I researched, like there are so many miles and layers from when they originally quarried that out for the limestone for all of the fantastic buildings that are down there in Paris. So you just never know how far it is, what kind of gases there are, perhaps even. I've heard that there's a lake down there as well. So you never know, like, what could be seeping up and bringing things, and just, yeah. It's just someplace I've been thinking that would be really cool to go. I'll probably, pay for the tour, but not go any further than that. But just really, really fascinating. And I can see the lure of why people would want to go down there and explore it even further.
Yeah, there's over 6 million people, or as they figure a close approximation of 6 million different skeletons down there. And the fact that they actually in the graves rotate them out, so you bury the fresh ones and dig up the old ones and then stick them down there. I mean, there's all kinds of, I hate to say superstitions, but theories, superstitions, beliefs, whatever you want to call it, about disturbing the grave of a loved one. So imagine disturbing 6 million of them.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that job. Sorry. But I have seen some other videos, and it's before AI took place. It's been about 20 years ago since I saw some of the original ones, where they've caught apparitions and different things, different, voices and stuff, and they swear they're alone and there's no one else down there. And usually the apparitions or whatever it is that they see don't have a light with them, so it's just them. And those were always really interesting to me. I mean, me, I'm more on the woo woo side as well, so I firmly believe that there's probably more to stuff down there than just dried out bones going on. So it's just really fascinating to me. I'm not sure as I would go down there and have a rave, like,
That is so creepy right there, and gnarly. And one thing actually I did forget to bring up on purpose, just because I wanted to save it towards the middle to give you both some more things to look into. Have either one of you and anybody out in the audience heard of the Bone Throne? If not, I would like everyone that is listening, also both of my excellent hosts, to check that out. Someone please explain to me why, in some of the deepest parts, it is so hard to find this. There is a throne made out of bones, that somebody had to have made this and spent time doing this. It is one of the most terrifying things I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there's thrones. There's all kinds of decorations down there. They got one wall I saw a picture of, kind of looked like a outline of like a fireplace or something. You had another picture showed your typical pirate symbol in the middle of the wall with the skull and crossbones, and so people were actually, there's a column in the middle of one of the tunnels that's nothing but skulls looking at you. So people are definitely making artwork out of the remains there.
Sick stuff, man. Who do you think was doing that? Do you think the original people that, well, put this place together, made this bone throne? I mean, some of the other ones you had mentioned that could be up more towards the top. I'm not going to put it past people being messed up to do things like that. Yet, where do you both sit on that? Was this created recently, you think? Or, I don't know, that bone throne, dude, that's pretty gnarly, man.
I'm not sure as I can speak specifically to the Bone Throne, but I do know that some of the original workers down there would do some artwork and kind of decorations, and like they have that barrel form that's down in there as well. But then I also know that the little urban explorers that had been down there would make the art as well out of the bones. And then I did hear, I mean, they said that they couldn't quite prove it, but there were some occultists going down there. Um, they could have done it as well. So it could have been at almost like any point in time, really.
Yeah, it got open to the public in the late 1800s, and like Susie said, there's plenty of options, and plenty people are probably still messing around with it if somebody's not looking. It's not like they're glued in place where they're just stacked. So I'm sure it was a community effort for a community project.
What the heck? Well, again, quick question for both of you. Is it not considered taboo to be per se handling the remnants of individuals? I understand in other cultures it's not, yet in this culture where it was set up, it seems to have been taboo. Is it not taboo to then handle somebody else that isn't even of your family's remnants, also to just walk and step on crushing bones? I mean, am I missing something here?
Well, I think that's up to each person's, culture or moral standpoint looking at the situation. Because, me, myself, I would be very reverent about it because there's not just from the 1700s bodies down there. We're talking black victims as far back as like Paris was established. If they didn't have a chance to properly decay before that big old flooding came in and uprooted everything. So I think it just depends on the person's mindset. Then they're probably not going to be very respectful about it if they're down there just trying to have a rave or watch a movie or something like that. But if you get people down there that actually want to explore the tunnels and, you know, maybe be more reverent about it and place them in nicer spots, instead of just stepping on them and crush them. I think it's just up to everybody's personal belief, but that's just me. What do you think, Brian?
Like you said, it's kind of a cultural thing. I mean, people make tools out of animal bones. Who's to say they didn't do it out of human remains as well? I mean, usually they're respected, but if you just find bones down there, you don't know where they came from. What's to stop you, really? And depending on your beliefs, if it's wrong or not, a lot of people do a lot of things on different islands that people in North America or Britain aren't going to do, but to them it's okay. So it just depends on how you were brought up.
Again, excellent stuff by both of you. That would make sense. It is super just gnarly in general. If anyone wants to get a Hollywood depiction of it, where they actually recorded it down in the Paris catacombs, I'm a huge fan of this movie as well. As Above, So Below. It is a terrifying horror movie that takes place in the catacombs. Just everything about that place is straight up gnarly, like Susie says. You must have had one big wine basement or cellar to somehow just step down to get a bottle of wine and get lost. That's, again, bizarre for sure. What do we think is potentially happening down here? And also, what else do both of you want to toss into the good midnight fire tonight?
So there was one interesting thing I found out is that people have actually been growing on there for consumption. The French found out about that and is actually starting to regulate it. So most of these catacombs, like you said, are under people's houses, and so if they have access to it, a lot of them have just been growing their own. Me, I don't know if I could eat that afterwards, but I just found that really interesting. It's like, well, let's not make it a full creepy thing, but let's, put some commercialism into it.
Good.
I knew a young gentleman that was kind of an idiot, and he went with his friends, and they found a cemetery out in the woods, just kind of chilling there. And they decided it would be great fun to dig up the bones of a young lady. Um, the person I know directly took home a toe bone, and another one of his friends took home the skull. So the skull was placed on the mantle of this friend's house, and he ended up in an accident not long after that. And then the one that I knew that had the toe bone kept having dreams about the particular person that he had dug up. And then his family members started seeing apparitions in the house of a young woman coming towards them. And when they had finally found out that he had actually kept that toe bone and, thought it was real fun and games, he went out and reburied it and apologized profusely. So I just thought that would be interesting food for thought for you guys out there.
Very interesting. It reminds me of the story of, and I can't think of the exact name of the place, but it's the witch's cave, where people will go in and take the tour where the witch was supposed to live under a house that she cursed, and people will pick up rocks, take the rocks home. They have all kinds of nothing but bad luck and and dreams and shadows, and they actually wind up mailing the rocks back, apologizing for taking it in the first place.
I've heard of the same thing. Yeah, and I pretty much I believe it, because if people a culture or people think that something is sacred and you disturb that, I don't know, they may not be so happy if you're making light of it and it's not funny to them. So who knows?
How do we both feel about that video? Is it something that you think is quality enough to actually be put up as good evidence? Or do you think it's one of those ones where it's got to sit 50-50 because it's a very old piece of camera? I have heard the Urban X Explorers that actually spend their time down in the catacombs. That group who found it said they found it. That's all verifiable. Yet after that, though, as far as I know, no one's ever found the individual that owned the camera. Everyone's verified it's real footage, though, that it wasn't altered. Yet I don't know how anything else can ever be brought to light on that.
Definitely possible. I mean, even probable. Like, how many people have we already talked about? Just a couple people that have disappeared and not reappeared for years, and if all of a sudden he's gone for several years and just a pile of bones on the thing, who's to say he didn't just get piled up in the works and you just don't find him?
Yeah, I agree with that. So, like I said, I've seen the original video as well. It's absolutely a legit video. Now, did that person plant it there? I don't know, for other people to find later. And if he did go missing and nothing has ever been heard about him or, anything like that, very well, he could have gotten lost down there. And like Mr. Barber was saying, there's also walls that can fall down, because I've heard of collapses in there as well. I mean, you may never find this guy. And who knows, even if he did get out of the tunnels, maybe it's something he saw or doesn't want to get in trouble for it. And so he's just kept his mouth shut from then on. I don't know.
Yeah, again, what the Christmas trees is going to be pretty hard to really figure out everything that unfolded with that individual, the odds are, as both of you stated, unfortunately, he is probably part of the whole entire surroundings now for sure. Yikes. Well, as we are starting to dim the fire for the early hours of the morning, what else would Mr. Barber and Susie like to stir up with this good old conversation tonight about the Paris catacombs?
The only thing I didn't look into was if they're still adding to the count. I don't know if they're still doing that with bones or not. If they're still rotating people in and out, I'd be curious to know that. So, like, are they still actively putting fresh bones in there as well? And if so, then that's just going to keep adding to the energy that's down there.
I agree with you, Brian. I was thinking, like, so if they were going to rotate and add in more bones like that, I definitely wouldn't do it where, the public has access. Maybe somewhere that they can keep it private and closed off, hopefully, because, that'd be a little too close to home, a little too fresh. They probably still have a lot of living relatives around, and having that kind of activity go on would probably be pretty disturbing to the living relatives.
As far as what is presented for public knowledge, the catacombs was stopped being used at the beginning of 1860 and was only in use from 1786 to 1860.
So, what do they do with their now? Do you know?
Everything is more in line with normal practices now.
I mean, they would have to be, right? You're out of land. That's like Japan. I mean, they were even burying them standing up, 2 and 3 deep. Or are they all above ground in mausoleums?
Boy, even then you'd have to start stacking them up, wouldn't you? Though, if they're up in mausoleums.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
what I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
Great stuff by both of you. There are actually still plenty of spots for that, yet you do need to prove that you have been a resident of Paris your whole entire life, and then yes, you are able to purchase a plot of land to then have yourself forever decorated.
Oh, that's really fascinating.
Well, that was a pretty gnarly conversation tonight for sure, which is pretty much the plot line of why Camp Nightmare Fuel has been created in general. I do encourage anyone out there, if you would like to learn more about the Paris catacombs, it's a very easy Google search. If you haven't already set yourself up for some nightmares this early hours of the morning, you sure as heck will if you really do a massive deep dive into that. Yes, Susie, my friend. And then, of course, Mr. Barber. Would both of you like to give yourself the good old shameless plug, as one of my buddies, JJ Messenger, says, and let everybody know where they can find what you will be up to?
Yeah, I'm at Intuitive Taurus Moon. I do tarot readings for people, and then I'm also part of Emergency Counters, where we talk about paranormal subjects and give live mini readings.
And you can find me part of the Midnight Society and on the playlist here with LordeStarfox. And you also find me on Fridays at Bigfoot Outlaw, doing live shows, talking cryptids and all kinds of other supernatural things happening in the world and in the past. And Bigfoot's Barbershop YouTube, which simulcasts the show from Bigfoot Outlaw Network. And if you have any ideas that you want to talk about or questions, feel free to hit me up.
Great stuff by, of course, my two beautiful hosts. Make sure you do follow the instructions and figure out what they have been up to and what they will be churning out. Yes, on this season of Camp Nightmare Fuel, We have so many amazing hosts that are going to be coming in and hanging out with us, really trying to bring out the nightmare fuel for everybody. If you do have a specific topic you would like any of us camp counselors to cover, please get a hold of us in the good old comment section. Yet until next time, Susie and Mr. Barber, thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's always good to hang out with LordeStarfox, and always a pleasure with Susie. We don't get to do it often enough, that's for sure.
Camp Nightmare Fuel, created by LordeStarfox.